This has been a terrible couple of months for reading for us, but thank goodness for audiobooks. Came in clutch to save the day again. If you're new here, I'm Rian, a Christ-following wife and a homeschool mom to 3 boys. Here we talk all things homeschool, and we will learn together how to use our roles as wife, mom, teacher, and homemaker in order to glorify God. So, quarantine. When my husband first went into quarantine, I was like, oh, I can do so much reading. We can't go anywhere. You know, it's nice and sunny outside. My kids can play outside. I'm going to get so much reading done. And I was like, oh wait, we have to move in a little over a week. Maybe I should get some packing done. So we did all the packing and stuff. And then I got sick and I'm like, oh, well, I have to lay on the couch now. I'm sorry, I don't feel good. I'll read, while I'm sick. No. COVID knocked me on my butt, and even reading took too much out of me. I could barely watch a show on TV. So yeah, reading hasn't really happened this month. And now that we're in the new house, spare time, I don't know what that is. So thank the Lord for audiobooks, because I have my handy dandy little AirPod and I can be unpacking boxes, sweeping floors, washing walls, and be listening to books. So I have gotten through several books, but I've only physically read not even a whole one. So there's that. And reading aloud was kind of a joke for the past month or so. But again, audiobooks. So here is what my 5th grader has been into this past month or so. He has just recently discovered the Red Rock Mysteries. I guess he's not technically a 5th grader yet, but I had never even really paid attention to these. I had seen them, but not really thought to look into them. But they are Christian mystery books. And so he loves mysteries, kind of like his mama. And he just really likes the fact that they do pray and they talk about the Lord. And so he's given these 5 stars. He's read 2 of them so far. He's reading them out of order, which kind of makes my type A brain a little bit twitchy, but he isn't bothered by it. So, and then he has started reading the BFG. Now this is technically a reread for him. He hasn't read it by himself before, but we've done it as a read aloud. But he had gone through all his library books and it wasn't time to go back to the library yet. And so I'm like, just find something on the shelf. And he's like, nothing looks good. And so I pulled this out for him and he's really liking it. He's maybe a third of the way through, quarter to a third of the way through. And he is liking it. He says he loves the way he talks, which I love that about most Roald Dahl books, is that he, the made up words and stuff like that, just I think is hilarious. And so he's giving this 4 stars so far, but like I said, he's not done, so his rating might change. And then this is not a chapter book, but he's been reading out of it every day since we got it at a used bookstore. And we have one of these already, but this was like a different edition, or I don't know, a newer one, I don't know. But Ripley's Believe It or Not, enter if you dare. And at first I was like, is that really the book that you want to pick out? But like I said, he doesn't just flip through the pictures. He reads every last word. And so I'm like, well, okay. I love this kind of stuff as a kid too, so I can't really blame him for it. And he's giving this 5 stars, obviously. He's like, I just love reading all the weird stuff. And I'm like, yeah, because you're weird like your mom. So for my 2nd grader, soon to be 3rd grader, he has finally given in to my wishes and started the Magic Treehouse series. Again, he's reading them out of order too. They definitely didn't get my type A brain, but that's okay. But he is 4 pages from being done with this one. So I told him to go ahead and rate it, and he gave it 5 stars. He liked when they saved the puppies. My kids are really, really into dogs. So you can't really go wrong with Magic Treehouse. And then, much to my chagrin, but we're kind of with him, reading is reading, so I allow it. He's been reading the Pokemon series. I don't get it. Even when I was a kid and Pokemon was really cool and whatever, I didn't get it. So I don't know. But he gave this 4.5 stars. He said it wasn't the best one he's read, but this is the 4-star challenge. I don't know. And then for my 3-year-old, funny enough, he is loving books that came with our Where'd You Learn That purely preschool curriculum. So thank you, Rachel. He's loving this one, What Lives in a Shell. because, and I'm like totally cool with him liking this because it's actually, nonfiction. It tells you real facts about shells and stuff, but he loves looking at the pictures and talking about the different shapes and what shells are for. So it's a winner in my book. This is by Kathleen Widener-Zofield. And the other one he likes is Farmer Duck by Martin Waddell and Helen Oxenberry. And this is kind of a sweet book, and this is the 25th anniversary edition. So this book's been around for a long time. I was gonna say it has some really good artwork in it, but the page I turned to is this one. I don't know if I'd consider, it's good artwork, but not really a great picture. Okay, as for read-alouds, my kiddos just finished listening to the audiobook of The House at Pooh Corner, which is the second book in the Winnie the Pooh series by A.A. Milne. They give it 4 stars. Of course, they love Winnie the Pooh's tactics and how confused he gets and stuff like that. And they said the narrator is really good on these too. So they've been listening through the Hoopla app, and they listen to that before bed. Also before bed, the past couple months, they've been listening to so much Boxcar Children, which those are classics that I grew up on. So I love that they're reading them and enjoying them too. Of course, those are by Gertrude Chandler Warner. And I think they just finished the 7th one. And so the only problem with those that I'm finding is that they're not super long. And so the audiobooks don't take very long. And so when you use something like Hoopla, you only get so many borrows a month. And so you're going through these books really fast, but then you're using up your borrows. And so we've had to kind of compromise. I'm like, okay, you can listen to a Boxcar Children book, and then we have to pick something a little longer, like the Winnie the Pooh book, so that you get a full month's worth of listening time before bed. But they said they give all Boxcar Children books 5 stars because the mysteries are amazing. Those are their words. I don't know. And then our car audiobook. Yes, we always have a car book going. I don't feel like you're really a homeschooler if you don't listen to audiobooks in the car, right? So we are jumping back into the Green Ember series. We took a long break from it, but we're back into the swing of that now. And they are giving that 4.5 stars, I think. I think one kid gave 4 and the other one gave 5. I think it is a little hard to kind of keep up with the different characters because there's so many characters. So I think that's why my 2nd grader was like, 4 stars, because I think he gets a little confused. But my soon-to-be 5th grader thinks it is awesome. He's like, I love all the adventure and all of the bravery. And I'm like, great, that's why I chose these books. And then we finally gotten back into reading aloud outside of audiobooks. Like I said, with COVID, I couldn't do it. I was exhausted. But we are trying A Little Princess again. We tried this a few years ago, and my boys just couldn't get past the fact that it was about a princess. And I'm like, it's not really about a princess. But it's by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And this was literally my favorite movie growing up. Like this and Matilda, I could have watched on repeat all the time. But we're only a couple chapters in. Like I said, we just got back into the swing of reading aloud before bed. And they admitted that it's actually a pretty good story so far. They're still when I pull it out and I see little girls dancing on the front, they're like, the princess book. But when I talked to them about it today, they're like, no, the story's actually pretty good. Sarah's father just left and she's feeling sad, So as for me, I'm technically currently reading 2 actual hard copy books, but I've been reading them both for a very long time and I'm not very far into them because of everything I said before. So I'm still working on By What Standard, edited by Jared Longshore. Of course, it's a collaboration of several different men in the faith and what it means to have God's standard in his world. He created this world, his rules apply to this world. And sometimes we as Christians even can say, oh, here's Bible stuff, here's real world stuff. And we don't understand that God's word applies to the here and now. And it doesn't just apply to Christians, it applies to the world. And so this is kind of an eye-opening and punch in the gut book, which I love me a good punch in the gut book. I also just started The Killing Forest, but literally 1 chapter in, so we're not gonna talk about that yet. But I have gotten to listen to so many audiobooks because, like I said, put in that AirPod, go clean something, go unpack something, you're golden. Especially if you're like me and listen on 1.5 to 1.75 speed, you get through a lot of books. I have been reading a lot of murder mystery type stuff, which if you know me, you're not surprised at all. I read The Other Misses by Mary Kubica. I don't know. I'm butchering that. But I gave that one 4 stars. It was about this couple who their neighbor ends up getting murdered, and they've taken on this old house that was the husband's sister's, and she passed away, and they're helping to raise her daughter now and all the struggles there. And then after seeing their neighbor get murdered, well, they didn't see her get murdered, but after finding out she was murdered, the wife's like obsessed with figuring out who did it. And it's kind of a psychological thriller, which is one of my favorite genres. So it was a pretty good story. Of course, there is some language in that, so beware if you want to check that one out. I also read Silent Sisters by Cusack. I give that one 4.5 stars. It was about, family drama, family secrets, and how this main character handled that when it was her mother who was suffering from these things and telling the lies and all of this. So in a way, it was kind of a thriller mystery, but a lot of it was just this lady dealing with this stuff within her family, and I found it very interesting. So 4.5 stars there. And then 5 stars for The Life We Bury by Alan Eskins. And this is, again, kind of in the same genre of thriller mystery, but it is a young college man who has to write a paper, and he has to interview an elderly person or someone who, has good past stories, and he picks a random guy he doesn't know who's actually been convicted of murder. And so he helps dive into his story and helps kind of investigate his case a little bit. And it's very, very good. There is some high energy, thriller elements to it. There's just a lot of redeeming qualities in their relationship that I really appreciated. So I gave that one 5 stars. And I'm currently listening to Institute by Stephen King. I am not crazy about the language. There's quite a bit of language in this, but the story is really good. It's not just your typical horror or anything like that. It's about kids who have special abilities, who the government is tracking, and they get kidnapped and all of these things. It's just crazy. I'm not quite done with it. I'm about probably 75% through. So I'll let you know next month how I liked that one. So as I said, thank goodness for audio. If you feel like you need to get more reading in, or your kiddos do, just do the audiobooks. It's great. Now, obviously, there's still something about holding a paper book and having your kids actually read. But audiobooks are a lifesaver for sure when you need them. And as school starts, we will get back into more actual reading because our Sunlight, all literature based. I just spent a lot of money on books for Sunlight. So we will obviously have more reading time as the school year starts up. Let me know down in the comments below what you are reading. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And in my next video, I will be reviewing Campfire Curriculum's Volcanology unit, so you do not want to miss that. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.